before you start watching this video, it is a long one. I apologize for that. I freestyled. I've tried to keep it light when I haven't actually. No, I've just kind of gone for it. It's a long old video, and I'm at the start of the what you're going to see in a minute. I mentioned something that would probably help you get through all the waffle. So apologies for the length of the video, but yeah, I think it needed to be said, and it'd be interesting to see what you think about it. So enjoy the video. Hello again. This is a video done pretty quickly after the last video, and it's based on the comments that I've received on that, and I found myself typing out the same thing over and over again. So I thought I'd do a video on it. This is a bit freestyle, so again, sorry, bear with me. I know I should plan it and do all that kind of stuff so it's more concise, but sometimes that takes longer than doing the actual video. There is a way to cut through all this, and I know I shouldn't say this, but chuck the transcript in AI and ask it questions, and that's what I do. After you've watched the whole video, by the way, and then you can ask it questions on the whole thing. Just say, what did he say about this, and what's the basic concepts, and it's a lot easier if you don't want to watch the whole video. But I shouldn't say that because I earn a bit of money out of this, not much, don't get me wrong. So I still want you to watch all the videos, but if you're used to AI, just get the transcript, chuck it in there and ask it questions. So what's this video about? Well, since I did the last video, I have now spoken to someone in the know from the Dina network who had a bit more information on this than my previous colleague did. So it's with the Eldis situation, building caravans in the Dethleffs factory over in Germany. I had several questions about it, and like I said in the last video, I had this kind of utopian vision. Sorry, I got something in my eye of the product looking like it did last year, and then just being built in Germany with the build quality and the processes that they've got. But that isn't economically viable. And once I actually thought about it, I thought, well, yeah, well, of course it's not. Otherwise, it would be cheaper to still keep on building it in the UK. So there's been some thoughts, and I think people have jumped to conclusions using what they think is the issue and why Eldis have decided to stop producing caravans in the UK. And it's to do with how we think the product is. And I've said this before, that the product is completely different, and it's gone through several lines of developments in the last 4 years since the new management has come in, and it's a really good product, but we're still hanging on to this thing where we're saying, oh, all UK vans are rubbish and they fall apart, and you know, the continental vans are better build quality and all this kind of thing. So I think people have jumped to a conclusion that they've decided to stop building caravans because the workforce over here isn't very good, and they're building rubbish caravans. That's not the case. The caravans that were coming out the factory last year, I think, were the best that they've ever built because of the processes that I saw that were in place at the factory to weed out all the issues. Because again, like I said before, the new management came in, looked at what was going on, and thought, well, why the bloody hell are you building a caravan like this with all these faults in it? And they got rid of them all, using a system kind of like the scientific method, is using the processes of finding out what the problem is, solving it, and then it's cheaper to solve it and then sell the product and not get that issue again than it is to fix the issue down the line and get bad PR. So that is what happened, but that's not what we think. We still harp on about the panels only having a year warranty, and the vans falling apart and the build being really bad. That was years ago. Problem is it's very difficult to prove that has happened until you're 3 or 4 years down the line and you think, oh, hang on a minute, I haven't had an issue with this caravan, and neither has anyone else. But you don't know that until you've committed to it and bought it, and you're not going to commit to it and buy it when you think that the product is rubbish and you're not going to even give it a chance in the first place. And it's easy for me to say that. It's not my 30,000, 40,000 pounds that you're spending trying to find that out. So it's very difficult for the manufacturers to make the product better and then tell you that they've made the product better, which I don't think Eldis did very well at all, because I didn't really know until I actually started looking, and I did the video where I said I thought they were going under, and I got some phone calls saying no, that's not the case, come and have a look. And then I went and saw it, and then realized that, you know, this is a really good product, but I didn't know. And I was reflecting what the buying public were thinking, because that's what I thought, because I was hearing that from dealers. But after going to the factory and seeing it and meeting the new people and seeing the processes, and like I said before, all the data that I saw, I was really kind of like, and that's why I got behind the products, because I thought, well, they've done a really good job, but trying to prove that to the buying public and trying to get that trust back when you're looking back in the past several years, and the narrative is that the UK products are rubbish, and this is the problem I have. And I can't blame anyone for that, because if I had bought a Caravan and I spent my 30 or 40,000 pounds and I had all these troubles, I wouldn't buy another one. And you know, I think we've been pretty patient as the UK public as a whole, because I think these problems started, you know, even before 2014 or 15, you know, when Swift changed how they were building things, and they were saying that these products are going to be much better, and they were telling us how good they were going to be because of the build quality, the GRP, polyurethane, and all this kind of stuff. But we still kept getting problems. So you can only cry wolf a certain amount of times and say, yeah, this product is really good, but then we put our faith in it and go, right, I'm going to buy that new product because, you know, it's a new Caravan, and and they're telling me it's really good. But hang on a minute, my camp rail's leaked, and my sunroof's broken, and my bailey floor's soaking wet, and things are falling off. And then you go and think, well, okay, you know, that was all right. It's a new product. Let's give it the benefit of the doubt. And so you think, well, it's a Friday afternoon van. If I'd had £1 for every time I heard that, I wouldn't have to sell Caravans at all. And that's what people thought. Go, oh, it's a Friday afternoon van, I'll go and buy another one, give them the benefit of the doubt, because we are fairly forgiving in that way. But then it happens again. And yeah, was it, I can't remember what he said now. I'm gonna do what that president said: fool me once, shame on me, fool me twice, shame on you, or whatever it is, I don't know. But anyway, so when when you're fooled again, or not fooled, but when you put your trust in a product again and it fails again, that's it, game over. You go, right, look, okay, I gave him the benefit of the doubt, and now I'm not going to buy anything else. So I think this kind of, I wouldn't say rot, but I would say issue now, where I've been looking into the figures, and in 2019 we were selling, I think, around about 17 or 18,000 Caravans, and even into 21 and 22 it was a bit false because of the COVID issue, but it's dropped 63% in the last 2 years, I think, down to about 9,000 sales. And I was surprised, even in 22 we were still up at around about 16 or 17,000 vans a year, and now it's dropped right down. And I'm wondering if that is the effect of the cost of living crisis and all this kind of thing, where again, our perception of what's going on in the world has made us nervous buying something that is, let's face it, a luxury. Even if we have got the money, you think, well, I don't know where this is going to go. Are things going to keep on going up? So I'm not going to buy that new Caravan because, I'm going to save the money just in case. And it takes 2 or 3 years for us to keep hearing the same thing, but actually not seeing that thing happen, because when you look at the news, everything's doom and gloom, isn't it? So you think, right, okay, they keep saying we got cost of living crisis, and the news likes telling you all the bad stuff, and so we listen to it, and then we get paranoid, and then we think it's true, and actually things start dropping. They don't tell you that, so they only like telling you the bad stuff. So it takes 2 or 3 years for us to kind of put our head above the pulpit and go, actually, it's not that bad. And look, my life's going past me at a rate of knots. Sod it, I'm going to go and enjoy myself and spend that money I've kept, because they said that things are going to get worse and worse, and they actually haven't. So there's this time period, I think, where people they're told one thing and then they have to work it out themselves, and it takes a while to do that. But also, like I said, we've trusted the manufacturers twice already. I've seen a pattern. And so I used to go, when I was going to the shows and selling in kind of 2017, 18, I was selling a second van fairly early on after a first van because they'd had issues with it, and they were swapping that out because they thought it was a Friday afternoon van and this one can't be that bad. And then unfortunately, when it turned out to be that, have issues again, then that's when they said, look, I've had enough of this. And again, the amount of times I've heard, I'm fed up, I'm not buying another new Caravan because the last two have let me down, and I'm getting out of it. I'm going to go and have a cruise instead. So I think the damage that the poor quality, and let's face it, I don't like being that doom monger where we're saying that the Caravans are poor quality, because if effectively they're not, when you look at how they actually make them and the marvel, when I go around the factory, I'm always absolutely blown away by how they can get any kind of product anywhere close to what they do. It's a marvel of engineering, and we're looking at that top 10% of issues that we get, and that's the most important thing. We forget about the issues that we haven't had for ages, because we haven't had them. So it kind of, we forget about that. It's only the things that are going wrong at the time. And I do understand it's been far too long to sort this sunroof problem out. Bailey are still getting wet floors. I've been talking to a few dealers recently, and they've been complaining about the Baileys more than I've ever heard before. Coming out the factory not right. I don't know what's going on there, but yeah, I've been hearing that more. It should have been solved early on. To me, you have an issue in 1 year, you got another year to kind of sort it out, and then you've got the third year where, okay, that should be sorted after that. It shouldn't go on more than 3 years. And when we look back at the history of cant rails and floors and all the history, they've been going on for several years, and that several years is over a couple of buying periods that you, the public, go through. So you'd forgive it if it was that first Caravan and then it was solved, which is where that 3-year thing comes in. If it gets solved within your first buying period, then, and you don't see that problem in that second buying period, then I think that's where the manufacturers would have been okay, and we may well not have been in the situation we are now. I'm not saying that this reduction in numbers is all to do with build quality, but when you've got the pressures that we've got now, and then we've also got this issue on top of that, that's compounding the reduction in numbers, I think. So there's certainly, I mean, put in the comments, if this has affected you. Have you had a Caravan where you've done exactly this thing? You've bought one, had issues, bought another one, had issues, and now I've had enough. Now I'm not buying anymore because I've tried twice and I still can't do it, and come out of the industry altogether. Now that might well have been timing as well. I have heard this a few times where people have said, "Oh, I'm fed up with this. I'm packing it in." When I thought, well, you may well have been getting to the point where you were going to pack it in anyway, and is that just a bit more of an excuse or a justification or whatever? Not that it matters, but I think we kind of think, oh, I'm not doing this, because you don't want to get to the stage where you say I'm a bit too old to do it. I'm not doing it because the product's bad. I don't know. That's that might be a bit harsh, but I've certainly heard that being said. And then when you look at it, you think, you probably would have given up anyway. So that hasn't helped. So I think the issues that we've had that have been ongoing have contributed to this exit from the experience of caravanning, maybe in numbers that we've never seen before. So that's why this drop in. So the seeds were sown several years ago, and we're seeing the effect of that in 2023. 22, 23 and 24, when that, a lot of people struggle to sell new Caravans because of the cost of living, and because maybe of this compounded issue where people are saying, no, I've had enough, I'm not buying anymore. So that's what I think. That's why I think the numbers have dropped. To get back to my other point, I had a conversation with what Eldis why they've stopped. And it isn't because of this bad build quality, the perceived bad build quality, because I don't think it's there. What I've been told was it's because it's too costly to produce Caravans over here in the kind of numbers that are now they're asking for. I think if we were still up at 20,000, it would be viable to do. But I've been told that it's the cost of borrowing money is far more over here than it is on the continent. So, and that's, you know, a lot of the manufacturers have to pay these fees to get that product on the forecourt for the dealers. So that costs them more money. So it's physically less money to borrow money. It costs less money to borrow money over on the continent. So that's a massive thing. There's also cost of fuel, electricity, and all that kind of stuff. It's a lot more expensive over here than it is over there to run a factory. And you imagine, you think our cost has gone up. You know, when we're boiling a kettle and heating the water up in our houses, you imagine the difference a couple of pence on a unit is in a factory. I mean, you're talking millions. So it sounded to me, it was pure economics. It's cheaper to do it over there than it is to do it over here. And several of the comments that I've seen on the last video was that, they've gone out, they've left because they can't produce a Caravan that's good enough because our workforce is rubbish. And that's not the case. It's down to pure economics. Then again, I got this feeling that, and this view that what I was hoping is they'd pick up all the stuff and take it over there and build the Caravan in the same way over there because of the economics, because the money's cheaper and because the fuel's cheaper. So it's going to be a cheaper thing to produce. So then they can still produce that same Caravan, but being built over there, which is nothing to do with the workforce and how they're actually making it. It's because of these external influences, and whether that's to do with the government or just the way it is, that's just the way it is. You know, it's down to pure economics. So then you think, well, okay, that's probably going to be too expensive to do. It would be much less expensive to try and reduce costs here than it would to pick everything up and go over there and build the same Caravan. So the conversation I had with my contact was, so it is going to be a Dethleffs Caravan bought out of the factory and badged up as an Eldis. And again, like I said before, that scale of the utopian view of the product as it was but built over there against rebadging a product that was coming out of the factory already and bringing it over here, I think in reality that's what it's going to be. Now the word mirroring was talked about, where you're going to get a layout that's in the factory that they're building thousands of, because obviously they're building a lot of Caravans over there for the whole market in Europe. So it would be quite costly to even do our layouts over there that we've spent the last 30 years refining, and then change everything and gear up all the workforce and all the change the cupboards and change all that kind of stuff. It would be too expensive. It just wouldn't be worth it for the slice of the market that they could potentially have. It's a chicken and egg scenario. I think if they went for it, I think they could get a significant amount of more market share, which would make it viable. But that's a bit risky because you're investing a huge amount of money on the premise that you're going to grab a load of sales off of Bailey and Swift, which I think actually they probably could, unless Bailey and Swift do something and try and get that trust back into you as a customer, which I think certainly Swift are. But again, it takes years to do that. So I think it is a product that is already being built in the factory over there. It is going to be a Dethleffs Caravan, and the word mirroring meant that all they're going to do is flip the layout so the door's on our side, and everything will be kind of the other way around. And now I I still think that won't work. There's several things that we don't like as a UK market that are in those layouts. I had a look at the layouts. Now, before I say any more, this is my opinion, and from what I took from the conversation I had, I could still be wrong. And if I am, I will address that. But this is how I see it at this precise moment in time, is that there'll be a mirrored version of what they're being built over there at the moment, because I don't think it'll be cost effective to build that old Caravan, last year's Caravan in the styling that it was, in another factory. It would be too expensive to do unless you were selling 15,000, which you're not. Or you could sell that product to the market over there, which you probably can't unless you can convince them to do it. So it sounds like it's going to be a Dethleffs product that's being bought over here, and that really worried me, because I've been there before. I've sold, like I said in the last video, I sold Adria when they first came over on a vastly continental type of product. I've been on the hobby stand trying to sell hobbies, on the Naus stand trying to sell Naus. Now that, when I thought about that, I've had a few people mention on the comments that, it would be good, because they see Adria as a continental van that's been kind of UK-fied, and they said, it would be good to have another product like that. But Adria don't sell in big numbers, and they didn't realise that, well, Naus have been trying to do it for the past 4 or 5 years, and they've made a specific product. They've pretty much done. Naus pretty much done exactly what I thought Eldis were thinking about doing, is rebadging their product and kind of flipping the layout so that the door's on the right side for us. But then I thought, well, I'm going to have a look around the dealer forecourts to see, how Naus are selling. I have got some contacts in Naus, but it was Sunday afternoon, so I'm not going to bother them to find out what kind of numbers were selling. But I got my answer because I looked around the dealer forecourts, and there's 2023 product still for sale, and I saw one Caravan that was £30,000 reduced by £8,500. It's 2023 model that was on a dealer forecourt just because it hasn't sold. So that's kind of told me that it's never going to sell, and they're stuck with it. And it was 2 or 3 different dealers that I looked at, all with 2023 and 2024 product on the forecourt, and they're on the forecourt with other dealers as well. They're not soulless Naus dealers, or one was, and they still had some product, but the others were multi-franchised. So they're sat up against a product that is UK-ified, and even though the door was on the correct side, that's not anywhere near enough as to make the UK public or you buy it, I don't think. There's so many different things that we just don't like, and horseshoe-shaped lounges, big seats, big tables in the middle that you just fold down and can't stow away, bench toilets, the old style Thetford toilet, so where it's a bench and not a swivel bowl one. What else is there? Even the way the cupboards look. I love the Adria product. I think it stands up well to scrutiny, but I've said this before, we buy with emotion and we justify with logic. You can't sell a product on logic, and the manufacturers, they kind of understand that, but not really gone down that route. So I remember one of the last times I was at Swift, the guys there got all the different manufacturers, and they looked at how much everything, they gave a value to everything, and they kind of tried to tell us that the Swift product's better because it's logically it's got a little bit of better equipment. But it doesn't matter to the customer. If you don't fall in love with that Caravan within 10 seconds of getting in it, or even as you're walking up to it, then you're not going to buy it. If you have to kind of start to justify your buying process with logic, it doesn't work unless you've made your mind up already. That's when you start to justify it with that logic. So I've seen it when I was selling when I'm selling caravans at the show, you can see a switch go off in someone's head when they love it, and you know that they're, you might not be able to sell it to them for other reasons, but you know that they're emotionally committed to that product. And when you're walking up to a Continental product, you've already made your mind up before you've even got in the thing, because the windows on the front you haven't got 3 windows on the front, you've got 1 solid window. And even worse, some of our products had no window on the front. And the customer had already made their mind up before they got into the van. You just weren't going to sell it to them. And then there was several other things inside with other issues as well. The single beds at the back that you can make into a big double bed, wet rooms. The list goes on. Where the TV is, and I've said this before in my last video, the second thing that people ask is, where's the bed, and then where's the TV go? And the Continental way of doing things is completely different. They don't use the Caravan in the same way we do. It's chalk and cheese, complete chalk and cheese. They don't understand why we have caravans like we do, and vice versa. Now, I've had a few comments saying, well, why would you want an oven? Why do you need a shower? You use the toilet blocks. Why do you need this and that? And it's, again, logically, you don't. And I've had people say to me, I never use a shower, but the thought of buying a Caravan without a shower in it just doesn't even enter someone's head, even if they know they never use it, or they turn it into a closet or something like that. It doesn't matter. If that shower wasn't there, they wouldn't buy the Caravan. What I heard was that Eldis had kind of made the decision not to bring the Caravans in here because it wasn't economically viable, and for the small amount of product that they were likely to sell, it wasn't worth doing. It sounded to me like the dealers had actually changed the mind of the Erwin Hymer Group, and so they thought, they were asking for an Eldis product, and also the customers. I think they've asked a few other people as well, and they said, yeah, we would like an Eldis product. But again, I've said this before. What we say, and I'll even go as far as to say what the dealers say, doesn't translate into what the buying public actually do. Like I said last video, the Freedom was a case in point in that. We got so many people saying, I don't want a shower, I don't want a gas point, I don't want any gas in it whatsoever, I don't want a cooker, I don't want a shower. So Swift listened, and they built the Freedom, and you couldn't sell it for love of the money, because we got loads of praise for it. I remember being at the show saying, oh, that's great. Yeah, no, I never use my shower, and I don't use the gas system. I don't like gas. I'd rather just have a little electric cooker hob that I can do a pizza in at 2 kilowatts, so you won't trip the thing out. And they were going, yeah, great, and I said, well, okay, do you want to put a deposit down in it? Oh no, I don't. No, I'll go elsewhere. And then I'd see them buying the standard product from somewhere else, even though they just said how fantastic it was. So what we say and what we do are 2 totally different things. And I'm worried that Eldis are going to listen to what people say, and then make a product, and then it being like now sat on the forecourt and no one actually buying it. It depends how far they go down the route in changing it. But there's some core things you can't change. Like I said, like the feel of the upholstery. No, you can change the upholstery, sorry. The feel of the cupboards, the feel of the way that the woodwork is and all that kind of stuff. You're not going to change that unless you take all the stuff we've learned for the past 30 odd years, with cupboards and doors and the way everything operates, and put it in that German product. I don't think we're going to be able to not fool the public, but get that public to fall in love with that product. Like I said, it's 10 seconds you've got to sell that product to someone in their head. You can talk about it logically all day long. You could talk about the warranty process is coming out the Dethleffs factory, a 5%. 1 in 200 caravans has an issue, and I don't even think that issue is that bad. But the product they've got there is simpler. The other thing that we had a conversation about was that it's unfortunate that the public see an issue with a Thetford product as being an issue with the manufacturer. So, you know, if a Thetford fridge breaks down, that's an issue, that's a warranty point, but that isn't anything to do with the manufacturer. So when you actually look at the issues they have, I mean, even the sunroofs in Swift, you could argue, and I have argued this, that it's a Dometic issue because they didn't make the plastic thick enough to cope with the stresses that they were putting it in. So when Swift put a sunroof in, that's only a small proportion of the collective issue making things, if you see what I mean. So if they don't make it thick enough, then it can't sustain the stress that it's going to get. So Swift have been trying to put products into a Caravan that they're getting from a third party, and the third party is saying, yeah, this is right, this is what we this is how we're making it for this thing, and Swift have no control about how thick that plastic is, because obviously they make it thicker, the cost goes up and all this kind of stuff. They need it at a cost point, and obviously the weight goes up. So you've got this balance everywhere that it's got to be cheap enough, it's got to be light enough, but it's also got to kind of work. And this is the kind of the triangle they're trying to get right. So, I mean, to me, I would have just taken the thing out years ago and said, look, it's just not viable. And you may have lost a few sales, but I think you would have saved a load of PR and a hell of a lot of warranty. So whether Swift actually pay the warranty or that's something they do with Dometic is another question. I'm not sure, but we all see it as Swift. Their sunroofs are failing, but it's not their sunroof, it's Dometic. So if you go around everything else and look at actually what is in the Caravan and what the issues are, there's only an X amount of, you know, cupboards falling off and things like that. Okay, yeah, fair enough. Front end looses, with the issue with the Bailey floors leaking and all that kind of stuff. That is manufacturing, but there's some other things that are not in their control. So that's where I think a lot of the warranty stuff isn't an issue on the Continental vans, because it is a lot simpler. They don't have the ovens. So therefore you don't have any of that issue. Therefore you don't have the weight of that thing pulling on all the furniture. So the more simpler it is, the easier it is to produce a Caravan without any warranty issues. Back in the day, we had 4 layouts. So again, we've now got thousands of layouts in different manufacturers and models and everything. So every time you add a bit of complexity into something, the risk of it going wrong goes up. So if we had 2 layouts and they've been building it in the same way for the last 40 years and we still had a Carver water heater in it, I don't think there's anything wrong with that Carver water heater myself. They were easy to fix and repair, and they didn't go wrong that often. You know, now you look at the Aldi heating system and the Truma control and the Truma system, and it's vastly, it's so much more expensive, much more complicated. But what does it do? Heats your water up, heats the Caravan up. It does the same job, same with fridges. Why do we need touchscreen this and touchscreen that? Why do we need PCBs in a fridge? As long as it cools your milk down and you keeps your freezer, your fish fingers frozen, that's all it needs to do. There are products out there that do it a lot better without printed circuit boards on it. And I spoke to Thetford and I said, why don't we just put that in? And they said, because the customer don't want it. They want touchscreen. They want the LCDs. They want, you know, to be able to automatically put it on. And then unfortunately they complain when it goes wrong, because, you know, a PCB in the environment that it's in, it's just not sustainable. So that's why I think that the Continental vans don't have so many warranty issues, because they haven't got the kind of kit that we have in it over here. It's a lot more simpler van. So this is why I think, how far do Eldis go along the line of transferring that product that they've got there into the hybrid version of trying to get it as close to what we need as possible. And that is, he was talking about ovens, maybe changing some TV points so because they don't use TVs over there hardly at all. It's not even a secondary thought. It's kind of we'll chuck it over there because no one really uses it kind of thing. And most of them don't even have it. They're still over there using the Truma S heaters. They don't. It's only in the top stuff that they put the Aldi and even the Truma. So our entry level stuff is like their top end stuff over there. So again, this is why the warranty is different, and then they can put more time and energy into actually making the Caravan, and because they're not spending so much money on physical stuff. So this is why I think it's going to be a very tight balancing act to get that product to a point where it's got the stuff in it. But again, that I don't think that goes far enough, because you still got to fall in love with it. And when you're walking up to a Continental van and it looks like a Continental van, which I don't think they're going to change, it's still. When I was looking at you can do this. Go to the website and have a look at the Dethleffs product, and then see what your initial reaction is. Does it look funky? Now, our stuff from the outside, they're like works of art. I mean, they just look amazing compared to the Continental stuff. Now, the Continental stuff ticks the boxes. It does everything, and I think it is. I might be being a bit stereotypical here, but the German thing is, yes, it does the job. Therefore, it does the job efficiently and it does the job well. Therefore, I'm going to buy it. It's the same with the stippled effect sides. The stippled effect sides are much better than the smooth sides that we get. It's stronger. It doesn't show the dents anywhere near like it does over here. But we don't like the look of it because it looks like to us a cheap Caravan, and it's a devil to clean. It's a lot easier to clean the side of the Caravans that we have it than the stippled effect is. But when you actually speak to people, the engineers, a stippled effect is far better. It's more rigid. It's just totally different. And also, I think the stippled effect now, because we've gone to GRP and polyurethane to get the balanced panels, you can't go back to that anyway. So that's going to be another thing. I hadn't thought about balanced panels. So yeah, how far are they going to go down the route of putting the kit that we need in it just to get us to say, well, it hasn't got a certain amount of kit, we're not even going to contemplate it, but that still doesn't get us to fall in love with it when we're walking up to it within this 10 seconds thing. Now, I could be wrong there. Let me know what you think, but I've seen it. And again, what people say and what actually happens and what they think they want, I don't think is actually true, because I've seen it happen on the forecourt and at the shows. Is there's a switch goes on like that and they fall in love with it, and then I know I've got half a chance of selling it. I've also seen it the other way, where it doesn't matter what you say to that customer, they are never going to buy that product. And if you're walking up to a Continental looking Caravan, you're 3 or 4 steps behind convincing that customer to do it. You've got one window in the front. We had European stuff. We got UK manufacturers that have had one window in, and they've had to work really hard to get the 3 windows in, because as soon as you see one window in the front, you don't like it and you won't buy it. You'll go and buy something else with 3 windows in it. So if there's one small window in the front of a Dethleffs van, or some of them have got none, and that's just completely a no-no. When you're walking up to it, it looks like a Continental Caravan, and I think that's going to just completely take out 80% of the market straight away before you actually even get in the van and start talking about the kit and the build quality and the warranty and all that kind of stuff. So that's my worry. Now, only time will tell if I'm talking rubbish or not. But I really think that having seen it happen myself, I really think that is my worry, that Eldis are going to listen to the dealer network, and the dealer network are going to say, yes, we want a product, and obviously it remains to be seen as to what that is going to look like, is whether they can achieve what the dealership network wants. And they may well have this utopian view in their minds that I had. Because if you'd have just said, it's going to be an Eldis product but built in Germany, that my head went straight to the Eldis product that we know built in Germany. Yeah, great. Not actually. Well, in reality, you can't do that. Also, they were talking about focus groups with the club and all that kind of thing. And I think that's why what you say here, when there's no obligation to kind of fluff up any egos, no matter how you say that you're going to tell it as it is, when you're stood in front of the person that's building that thing and it's their money, it's difficult to say anything negative about it. It's like when you have a haircut, they show you, oh yeah, thank you very much. They show you the back, oh yeah, thank you very much. Even if you think, oh bloody, I didn't want a mullet, but you're not going to tell the person that. Because they just spent money and time in doing it. It's very difficult for us as it might be different over there on the continent. They might say, no, I don't like that, and that's the end of it. But over here, we don't do that. So I think this is where this medium, where you're free to say exactly what you want in the comments, and I know you do because I've read them, that might well be the best way to get a feeling of what we're saying, we're thinking. And even if I'm just a devil's advocate here and I throw this out there and I'm wrong, but it's been thought about and maybe addressed, then that's doing its job. So the comments I got, I kept saying that, Eldis didn't pack up because of the build quality. It was because of the economics of it. The cost of borrowing money is far cheaper, and they've got the resource over there. Swift and Bailey are different with Coachman now. They've been taken over obviously by a French firm, I think. He'll probably tell me different on that, I'm not sure. But Eldis have this network of amazing factories and resources that they can tap into. Swift don't have that. They haven't got access to massive factories abroad. And when I was told how big the factory was, it's just on a completely mind-boggling another level over there. So the small amount of caravans, they'll probably do it on a Friday afternoon, funnily enough, before they knock off. We'll bang out those UK vans and crack on with the continental ones later. But Swift and Bailey obviously don't have the opportunity to do that. So they're stuck building caravans in the UK and having to spend the kind of money that they just have to spend. They've got no choice. The Erwin Hymer Group have got the choice, and I think they've been very brave, and it's probably one of the best decisions they've ever made, is to not just keep banging on building a product because it's historical and we have an emotional tie to building it. All the manufacturers lost money last year. You can't sustain doing that for a longer period of time. You have to start making profit, and maybe that's why I've been hearing things more from the Bailey build qualities. I don't know what's happened at the factory, but like I say, when I start hearing it from 2 or 3 different places, and you think, what's going on, it's maybe because they had to cut costs here and there to try and make a profit, because you're tied into a factory, and you're tied into a way of producing things, and when the amount that you're selling isn't giving you the profitability, and then you start having to pay out lots of warranty, then obviously that affects profitability. So you're kind of in a downward spiral of doomness, which we've seen before. It's all this is history, and that's why I'm looking at it going, well, look, we've it's not like this is new. We've seen Fleetwood go under, or not. Adria decide not to build the Fleetwoods. We've seen Luna, Avondale, all the others pack up, and I don't think this is any different, and that's what I've said before. I was told that if Eldis hadn't have been taken over by the Erwin Hymer Group, they wouldn't be here now, and that's what I thought back when I've done the very first video, where I thought that Eldis were in trouble. They were, but when you've then got the backup of the Erwin Hymer Group, and then Thor after that, even bigger, then they can sustain it. But there's still no point in producing a product if you're losing money. That's not what we're here for. They don't do it for fun. They've got shareholders that they got to keep out. Oh, the other thing about that actually as well is, I don't operate in a corporate world. Obviously these manufacturers do. So when I hear the comments about people saying that they're not telling us things and they're not giving us information, a lot of it is because they can't. because there's forces, you know, there's bigger forces in play here, and I know sometimes they're desperate to tell you stuff, and they just can't do it because, you know, it will affect, you know, it's like a butterfly effect. They say something here and it will affect the price of something else over there. So that's frustrating when, you know, I'm speaking to people and they say, well, you know, we'd love to say this, but we just can't because, you know, I've got, you know, someone else breathing down my neck and I shall get into trouble for saying things like that. So it's not as simple as we think it is. Oh, just be truthful. Just tell it as it is. You know, you can't do that. And that's why I still have to be very careful with what I say, because I don't want to get anyone in trouble and say wrong things. But you know, I am in the, this is my opinion on a YouTube channel. Now there's far worse opinions out there going out than my small opinion on the caravan industry. So hopefully I'm giving you food for thought, and putting some of the, you know, things right, because I wasn't fed up typing out the same thing over and over again, but I was getting the same thing mentioned, like I said, with people thinking that they've left the country because the workforce wasn't any good. That's not the case. But like I said, my worry is that they're going to listen to what the public say they want and not what actually happens. And if you can make profit on 150, 100 caravan sales, if you're making profit, then it's better than you know, doing what you were doing, producing a caravan that we think we want to buy. If it's cheaper and easier to build it and then bring it over and sell less but make a profit, it's making a profit, no matter how you do it. I think that there was a point where they were saying that they were thinking about not mirroring a layout. I probably would say that the only people that would contemplate buying the product mirrored with the door on our side are probably the same people that would contemplate buying it non-mirrored, because they're in that continental mindset, and they can see why they want to buy that continental caravan. And the way of buying a caravan is different to everyone. I say we buy with emotion. There are a few people out there that do buy with facts and figures, and it's not very often I see it, but you do see some of those. So if the market's 100%, I'd say 5% of people do buy using logic, and the fact that they're not going to get warranty issues and things like that. So if that 5% is enough, and you can produce a caravan with the door on the continental side, and all you got to do is build it in the same way you've been building it, ship it over here and sell to that 5%, and that makes you a profit, then, you know, do that. Don't bother trying to chase our market that I think you're going to have to really try and convince to buy something that they're just not going to buy no matter what they say. So that's where I think they should be. And so give it 12 months, 18 months, 2 years, and we can look back on this video and see what happened. It's going to be dead interesting to see, what they produce. I'd love to see the product of what they're thinking. Again, I'll know within that 10 seconds. If I see it, I'll know in 10 seconds whether they're going to sell it or not, because that's what you do when you walk into a caravan. If I'm wrong there, let me know. If you are swayed by warranty and things like that, and you have evidence of that, because again, what people say and what people do, I think, is totally different, and it's very difficult for us to admit that to ourselves, that we don't buy with logic, because that's what we think we do, and that's where the manufacturers try to sell you. Talk about the build, how it's built, and all this kind of stuff. But it's where the TV goes and how the thing looks that actually really sells it. So if you've stuck with me for this long, thank you very much. Like I said, if I shouldn't do this because it's going to probably cost me a little bit of money that I do make on this, a couple of quid. But grab the transcript out of AI, out of the YouTube. Chuck it in ChatGPT and ask it questions. You can ask it to summarize. You can ask it to do all sorts of stuff, and that might crash YouTube. I don't know if everyone understands that, but that's what I do. Unfortunately, there are, I'm not the only one that raffles on in the caravan industry, so I do that quite often with my colleagues. Is I take the transcript, chuck it in ChatGPT, and say, I don't want to know half the stuff they talk about. I just want to know the key facts. So if you do that, let me know how you get on. And I promised myself I wouldn't do that because it's going to affect my videos. But I say I'm all about the customer experience rather than me, really. So yeah, like, subscribe, do all that kind of stuff. Let me know what you think. I'm sure you will. If I've got something else to say, obviously I'm going to say it. And I'll see you next time.